There are a number of reasons why you might find yourself in a survival situation. It may be that you simply want to become less reliant on shops, more self-sufficient, but in that scenario, what should you grow? In this video, I'm going to take you to 12 suggestions of the absolute minimal best crops to grow, and I'll give you a couple of bonus ones as well. Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the homestead. My name's Gary, and I'm going to take you through my 12 suggestions of crops that you absolutely must grow to see yourself through a survival situation. Now, the choices that I've made are based on three criteria really. One is the calorific and nutritional value of these crops. There's no point growing stuff if it's not going to keep you alive. Number two is how easy is the crop to grow. There's no point trying to grow something if it's going to fail, and then that space and time is wasted. And that's relevant to our climate as well. We're in Latvia, in the Baltics, but I mean this is relevant through all of the Nordic region, the Baltics, and we're at 58 degrees, so that's the very top of Scotland as well. You might call it a cold climate, I guess. So how easy do they grow, and then how easy are they to store? So there's no point growing stuff if it's going to spoil or rot and you can't keep it and take benefit from actually of putting that time and effort into growing it to survive. So let's get straight into my top 12, and then stay to the end of the video because there will be a couple of bonus suggestions as well to make life a bit easier during a survival time. So crop number one, I think it's fairly obvious. It's the potato, the humble potato. Shouldn't say humble really, it's an amazing vegetable. Obviously it's a tuber, and it's packed full of vitamins and minerals, amino acids. Obviously it's very high on carbohydrates for the energies that the body needs, and it's actually a crop that if you were to eat solely potatoes, it'd probably keep you going for 3 or 4 months until your body started to run out of certain really needed certain vitamins that are missing from the potato. Really easy to grow. Doesn't need a lot of attention really once you've put them in the ground. If you follow the no-dig method like we do, it's even easier. You just don't need to break your back digging the ground to get them in. I'll link to a video up here for that to show you how that's done. So really easy to grow. They grow in abundance, kind of set and forget, if I can use that. And as far as storing is concerned, you can store them in a basement like we do. They store for months. These were harvested last autumn, and here we are nearly at the end of March, and they're absolutely fine. Kept us going over winter. What's next? Number two is beans. Lots of varieties of beans. Obviously beans are packed full of carbs as well, but the main reason for choosing beans, I guess, is that they're packed full of protein. And there's lots of different varieties. There's the pole tall beans, and then there's bush beans. We primarily grow a lot of bush beans here. This is we've been eating our way through this. These beans, really good crop from bush bean, just from a little bed of about a metre by 10 metres, quite intensely sown, and they're still dry obviously. Beans, that's the great thing about beans, is you can harvest them early as green beans and store them. They don't have the same protein obviously level when stored like that, but they can be frozen, they can store dry, and of course these are not only beans that you can eat, they become seeds for next year, which is really important in a survival situation, so you can continue growing year by year without having to rely on another source of seeds. What else can I say about beans? Easy to grow, kind of look after themselves. They produce their own nitrogen, so you don't need to worry too much about feeding. And talked about storing. Yeah, lots of different varieties, lots of different ways of growing them. You can put them here and there. They'll grow up, they'll pretty much grow up anything, so you can find spaces to put them. And yeah, that's beans. Brilliant. What's next? Corn. Now, when I talk about corn, I'm talking about in Latvian kukurūza, and I'm talking about what you might think of as sweet corn, but in a survival situation, actually sweet corn itself is not the best type of corn to grow. So I'm talking about maize, obviously. And what my suggestion would be was to grow something called field corn, or might be called dent corn. No, that's grown here in Latvia for animal feed. It's called obviously it's called field corn because you see it growing in big fields, but it's called dent corn because when it dries, there's a little dent in the top of the kernels. You can probably here in Latvia get that in your local ag store, but the reason I suggest growing that is because it dries, or once it's dried, you can then store it dry and you can grind it up to make flour. And with that, you can obviously make lots of things. Full of carbohydrates, it's got fats in it as well, which the body needs. Very versatile, reasonably easy to grow. It's obviously a member of the grass family. You know, here we are in March and I've already got some growing. This is an experiment for some shop bought popcorn. And the reason I'm doing this is because if you can't get field corn or dent corn, then popcorn would be another good idea. We grew this decorative popcorn last year, and clearly we're not going to survive on this, but as an example, and if you know it's dry now, you can hear it. We can strip this off and we can use it as popcorn, and I planted some of these seeds here to see if it will grow. And this row here is those, and this row here is shop bought popcorn, and I was interested to see if it would germinate, and it has. It's actually really too early to be growing sweet corn. I can't do much with this, but I'll try and keep it alive because it's not particularly frost tolerant. So it needs to go out in sort of May, June here. So that's corn, but of course when you do grow the corn, you can grow beans around it. And that combined with my next suggestion is something called the Three Sisters method. So grow your corn and grow your beans around it, your tall beans. And then what do we have next? We have our squashes and pumpkins. Very popular to be grown here in the Baltics, but they're good on calorific profile, good for nutrition, fairly easy to grow. You can grow them and they sprawl over the floor, but the reason I suggest these is that they're really brilliant for storage. Keep them in a cool, dry place. These were grown last year. We're now, like I said, in the middle of March, late March, and they're still perfectly okay for us to use. This is a curry pumpkin, and obviously a butternut squash. So pumpkin and a squash, very closely related. But you could grow these around the bottom of the corn. If you grow the corn and then you grow the beans around it and the squash and pumpkins around it, that will give lots of shade around the bottom, which the sweet corn would really like. That's called a Three Sisters method. What's next on the list? Cabbage. Cabbage. Got different varieties here. I've got my seed box here all ready for the video. What sort of things we'll be growing? So we've got Savoy cabbage. We've got what we call pointed cabbage or spring cabbage. Seeds obviously bought in Latvia. I've got some Copenhagen cabbage, which are grown predominantly in market gardens, but great for cold weather. Cabbage is obviously not going to be high on the calorie side, but packed full of vitamins and minerals, great nutrition profile, great for storage. You can freeze it, but you know you can make sauerkraut from it, scarbized compost, which brings its own additional goodness and healthiness to your diet in a survival situation. Happy to grow in the cold, love the cold. In fact, don't particularly like the heat. So that's great as well. Cabbage. You know, who doesn't like cabbage really? What's next? Beetroot. Beets in Latvian. Again, easy to grow. good nutritional profile, store well. They can store, these again were grown last year, been storing in the basement, absolutely fine. You can eat the leaves as well when you grow these. You can eat the leaves in a salad as well, so they're multi-purpose. You can pretty much eat the whole plant. And you can pickle it in preserves. You can store, you could chop it up and freeze it if you wanted to. You can can it as well. So there's lots of different ways you can store it. Easy to grow, like the colds. You can grow it pretty much, not all year here in Latvia, but most of the growing season. I'm about to put some seed in now to start my first batch of beets, and then I'll grow a second succession later in the year. So beets, well, next, related to the beetroot is leaf beets or chard, or in the rest of the world, mangolds. That's what it's called here in Latvian. Again, really easy to grow, very hardy, will grow all year pretty much. If you leave it out in the sun too much, it will go to seed, but you want some of that to go to seed. It's very generous with its seed. One plant will give you thousands. There's some rainbow chard seeds, so I don't know which, it might just be from one colour, but never mind. There's thousands here, and you need to remember with beetroot seed and with the mangolds, they're all part of the amaranth family actually, is that these seeds are actually pods, and there's seeds contained within the pods, and so you might get more than one plant from one seed. So not always, but sometimes you do. So that's mangolds or chard, lots of different varieties, great nutritional profile, and I think, if I'm not wrong, they got calcium in as well, which is important. You can freeze it, and you can put it in stews, and you can keep cutting it and it'll grow back more. And obviously they're related to the spinach family as well, which is a possible suggestion, but I wanted to stick to the 12. If you can't get chard for whatever reason, then grow spinach. Next we've got turnips. Now I don't have any turnips. We didn't have a great crop of turnips last year, but we're certainly going to ramp things up this year. I will be growing snowball turnips, because from a nutritional point of view, the smaller and the denser they are, the greater the nutritional value of the crop is, and obviously you can grow more of it as well. So don't try and grow big, just try and grow more. And great again for soups and stews, and they store well in the basement. They'll store all winter, and another great keeping crop. Easy to grow as well, and cold tolerant. Again, you can eat the leaves of the beets, of the turnips. And remember, turnips are part of the brassica family. They're not related to the beetroot. Carrots. That's my where we got to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My 9th suggestion is carrots. I'm rattling through them because I know you're keen to find out what the bonus ones are. We're getting towards the end of our carrot harvest, but again, these were grown last year. You can do 3 or 4 successions of carrots. The early ones tend to be more for juicing, and the later ones tend to be storage ones. So just bear that in mind when you're buying the seed and choosing what varieties you're going to grow. Again, they store well. They are mostly water, to be fair, but as a crop for for stews, you can eat them fresh. They're one of the great things about carrots is they're obviously packed full of beta carotene, and the body turns that into vitamin A when it's eaten, which is important. And they're pretty easy to grow as well. They look after themselves once you've got them germinated. Okay, next we've got kale, I think. Kale. Lots of different varieties of kale. So this is obviously curly kale. I've got purple kale, green curly kale. I've got the kale, the big leaf kale. Grew that last year. I've got the Black Magic variety of that. And I think that's called dinosaur kale as well. I've heard someone call that. Anyway, kale is brilliant. Obviously, it's not for carbs. It's for it's not for the calories. It's for the nutritional value of carbs. Packed full of vitamins and minerals. and easy to grow, very hardy, loves the cold. You can get them in the ground now. I don't know if you can quite see down here, I've got some red Russian kale that I've already got going, and that will go in the greenhouse for an early crop before we put the tomatoes in. And yeah, it can be frozen, but you know, depending on your climate, you can probably keep it going all year. We managed to keep it going most of the year in the greenhouse here, even though with temperatures down to sort of -30, it will need some protection around it as well. But that's a good way of using your greenhouse in the cold. I've got some videos on doing that somewhere. I'll link them up at the top. Excuse me, thirsty work this, doing videos and talking. What's next? Peas. Zinni, something like that in Latvian. Peas are great. Lots of different varieties here. You can grow short peas, you can grow tall peas which will climb up. If you don't want the hassle of erecting a frame and framework, you know, thinking of a survival situation, you need to, you know, get things going as quick as possible. You can get some field peas which grow to about 80 centimetres and plant them quite tight together, and then they'll self-support. And you can get both sugar pod varieties and just the shelling variety as well for those field peas. Did that last year. And obviously you know, these peas, packed full of goodness. I keep probably saying that, packed full of goodness, but they are for what they are, they're tiny little peas, and they're really good for you, and the pods as well. Easy to grow, very cold tolerance. They'll be one of the first crops out in the field that we plant, and great to store as well. You can store dry, which then gives you the seed for next year, which is important. You can freeze them, you can jar them and can them and make salads. And you know, this one doesn't have peas in, but this is an example of the sort of stuff that we do here. This is carrots, peppers, cabbage, onion, winter salad. There's a video again to this, and I'll link that up there or up here. I can't remember which side it is. We made loads of these, store these, then all these vegetables are crunchy inside. It's wonderful. A real taste of the summer during the winter. But you're growing this stuff to be able to keep yourself going over the months when you can't grow stuff in the garden. That's kind of the point of this, really. So that is me rattling through my 12 survival suggestions of what to grow. It's kind of the bare minimum. Obviously, we grow a lot more than that here to complement that. But if that's all you could grow, then that would be my suggestions. Now, 2 bonus suggestions. Because eating potatoes or some of these things for 3 or 4 months at a time, you know, will get tough. It's doable, but it's tough. And what would make life a bit easier is a bit more taste. And so my bonus suggestions, oh no, sorry, I got to 11. I've missed one, haven't I? They I've missed onions. Onions would be my 12th. That's my 12th suggestion, onions. Onions, they are don't have a lot of calories. They don't particularly have an amazing nutritional profile, but they do contain some important elements. And of course, they're also antibacterial. They have antioxidants in them as well. And it's difficult to imagine some meals without onions, you know. And you know, they're pretty easy to grow. They're cold hardy. You can put them in the ground as sets. I mean, I grow a lot from seed, and again, I've got a video on that, so I'll link that up there. And yeah, find some space and grow some onions. Grow them a bit tighter than perhaps you've seen them on other videos, or the packet tells you, because they're absolutely fine. 3 or 4 inches, sort of 10 centimeters in between each one is absolutely fine. And they'll give you a great crop, and they store really well as well. Again, we grew these last year, harvested them, cured them properly, and then we've still got a load now. Right, that is the 12. I've done the 12 suggestions there. So bonus suggestions. My bonus suggestions to improve life is, first of all, garlic. Grow some garlic. Ideally, you need to get it in the year before, but you can grow some spring garlic. You can grow, if you know the ground, it's late March and the ground is still frozen at the moment, but you could build some compost beds and get some spring garlic in to get you some small crops later in the year, and then grow some later in this year. Because you're only growing it for taste, it really doesn't matter if you can't get it. Don't panic. There's more important things to grow. But garlic, whilst it is good for you, the amounts you use in cooking is not going to make a great difference, but the taste will. Just adding some garlic with the potatoes will make a fantastic difference. And of course, the other second bonus one is just grow herbs. Dill's really popular in Latvia. They pretty much put dill with everything, but oregano, basil, coriander, thyme, rosemary, some of those will grow and be perennial. The coriander you need to keep planting, and the dill you need to keep planting. But once they're growing, they pretty much look after themselves, and they make a massive difference to the meals that you're going to make, an extra taste. And of course you can dry them and you can freeze them, and so they store really well. So there you are. There are my 12 suggestions for survival situation crops, with a couple of bonuses. We grow all those things and a lot more, and I'll bring you another video with some other stuff that are growing, because I know you've asked about that. I hope you found the video useful. Let me know what your suggestions would be. Put them in the comments below if I've missed anything, or if you want anything clarifying, and then I'm happy to do that. Thanks for watching, and check out our other videos. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button, boop the like button, and I'd really appreciate that. Check us out on Instagram as well, because we've got stuff going on now over there. Again, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.